We're doing episode 45, Badass Records podcast. And so you're in a traveling rock and roll band called the Vanilla Fudge. It is the Mud Shark himself, or the Kid, as you are so lovingly saved in my phone. Mark McCaffrey, what's going on?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, how are you, man?
Pretty good.
Still adjusting to, I don't know why this is a thing every year, but the cold and the sunshine just evaporating like at 4:45 every day. It's weird. I don't know.
Yeah, it sucks going home in the dark. Kind of feel like the day's over.
And you're out south, but where do you report somewhere for work?
Yeah, like over in Overland Park, Leawood.
Okay, so you shoot west and then back east and then south again.
Yep.
All right. Kiddos are all good. Tell me their ages again.
4, almost 7 and 9.
Okay. All right. I mean, are they? What's the school situation out yonder?
They're private school.
Yeah. And then are they in activities already, or still too young, or?
No, they. Right now, I think we're starting basketball for my son.
Okay.
He's starting, I think, this week.
Yeah.
Tennis for daughter, but they've all been doing soccer and
Okay.
dance and you name it.
I mean,
cheerleading.
Do you wind up with a day of the week that doesn't have a practice or a game or an event?
I don't know. Maybe.
Sounds about right.
Gotta check my calendar.
Right. So are your folks are both still around, right?
Yep.
And are they still in the same place?
That we grew up? No.
No? Okay.
No, but pretty close.
And it goes Matt, Jenna, Mark, right?
Yes.
And what's Matt's year? Is he 2 years older than Jenna? Or one?
One in school.
Okay. Yeah. And you guys, I mean, you guys grew up in that house, right? So everybody's born and raised here.
Yeah.
And how did mom and dad meet?
College.
Where'd they go?
SMU.
Oh, wow.
Where we
all of you? Yes. Yeah, that's right. Wow. I forgot about that.
Yeah, we're weird like that.
And did they play music in the house when you guys were growing up?
Some, yeah. They both knew how to play the piano.
Okay.
My dad actually played drums.
Really?
He was like a drum major.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Way back when, which is super cool. But played drums also, and but yeah, piano. Everybody kind of knew.
But did they play, put records on, turn the radio on?
Yeah, man, my family loves music. So
okay, I mean, I figured. Like
they're super active with like musical theater heritage or music theater heritage.
Okay.
Which is what it's called now, the thing down at Crown Center, and the lyric opera.
Okay, all right.
Lots of the local stuff to try to support what goes on here. But,
sure.
But yeah, no, they're the ones who had the record collection of all the Beatles stuff.
Do they still have it?
No, I think a lot of it was, well, they still have a bunch of records, but my brother made off with quite a few of them. I think I ended up with maybe like Jimi Hendrix, like Are You Experienced? I might have gotten that one. I like randomly was able to pluck a couple,
sure.
But not that many.
So before I forget, what are all of the outfits that you gig in right now?
That I play with?
Yeah.
The Harry Trumans.
Okay.
Ismert Brothers and Company.
Okay.
Which, once again, I'm the only one who's not an Ismert, so I guess I am Company.
Right.
And then Jervis Jort.
Okay. And all three of those are visible online?
Sort of. At least on social media.
Right. But I mean, like if gigs come up or you record something, it gets posted to the socials?
Try to do that, yes.
Who's behind it all?
You're better off just coming.
Right.
Seeing it.
Right. Who do you run any of them, or do they? I mean,
we tacitly put stuff up there when it's going on.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I felt like
We could do a lot better if that's what you're saying.
Well, no, if anybody's listening and wants to check stuff out, I want them to know where to go. I felt like at one point, you maybe were behind the Jort Facebook page, but then maybe somebody else took it over. Is that not?
Yeah, I kind of departed
Okay.
that for a little while. That's when we started Back Fat, which was the like bluegrassy kind
Not
of band.
still gigs occasionally, right?
Haven't for a while.
Like-
I don't know. You'd have to ask those guys if they want to do it. I'm happy to do it.
Has it been more than a year since the last gig?
We did. We may have done one in the last year.
Like a Martin City Brewery
Yeah, I think it was like
Saturday.
like an hour that we did before
Okay.
one of the other bands.
Okay. How's old Paul Serp?
Good as far as I know. I haven't talked to him real recently. But
Okay.
It hasn't been forever
Right.
either.
Well, he's not much of a talker to begin with. He's kind of a quiet
Yeah,
dude.
well, if you know Silent Paul, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Is that a nickname for him?
Silent Paul.
Okay.
Yeah, does it need to be one? I mean, if you know him,
No, not at all.
he's pretty quiet. Silent, like the vowels in his last name.
Yeah. The non-existent
Yeah.
vowels.
I've never seen. He had to show me his ID for me to believe it.
Right.
I was like, "There's no vowels, not
Yeah.
a single vowel."
Yeah. He got a single syllable first name and last name and no vowels to go with that last.
SRP,
Right.
unbelievable.
And what's your brother's gigging situation?
I'm not sure where all they're playing.
Okay, but what's the name of their outfit?
One of them's the Painkillers, and I can't even remember the name of the other one.
And do you, for your stuff, do you practice and have gigs?
Yeah, there's usually.
So
I try to limit one rehearsal, sort of per week,
Right.
if I can, unless it's like leading up to a show
Sure.
or something.
But so if that's going to happen, where do you do it?
Depending on the group, yeah. Jort usually practices out at the drummer's house, like out in Lewisburg, which is pretty far.
Okay. I don't feel so bad asking you to drive.
The other guys are basically, well, one of them's in Martin City, and the other one's pretty close to here.
Okay.
Waldo,
Okay.
so.
But I mean, you've got your own web of activities and responsibilities to sneak a rehearsal in it. Do they all have stuff too?
Yeah.
Man, that's a hard thing to wrap my head around. Everybody finding a spot where you can, on the calendar, where you can say, okay, we've got 120 minutes or whatever it is.
It usually cuts into sleeping.
As does this. I mean, the back
They're
end
like,
of
hey,
it.
man, if I'm not working or hanging out with the fam,
Right. Right.
usually is after bedtime.
So
I can pull out
was piano lessons a must for all three kids in your house growing up?
Oh yeah.
And how long did everybody stick with it?
So, well, for background on that, my mom's aunt was our piano teacher.
Okay.
She also went to SMU.
Oh wow.
For music.
That's deep.
So she.
Oh, okay.
And originally from Texas, but coincidentally moved up here, which what are the odds of all that? I guess kind of, but since she was here, she started all of us at 6.
Okay.
So we all started taking piano when we were 6 years old.
And how late did everybody go?
Jenna went pretty much, I think, through the whole most of high school, and then
Taking lessons?
yeah,
Wow.
doing recitals and stuff. I did kind of the same thing
Really?
for the most part.
We
We may have stopped mine later in high school, but I played pretty far through.
Okay. So rehearsals.
And then my brothers stopped the earliest of
Okay.
everybody. But
Funny. These are not school affiliated rehearsals. You're off on your own thing.
yeah, just lessons and recitals and
Sure,
the boring
sure.
stuff that you suffer through.
Just went to a Halloween one for both my kids.
Yeah, you suffer through it as a kid, and and then later on in life, you got all the theory, and
Right.
it's good to learn that stuff when you're a sponge.
But so Jenna went the longest, maybe, but the live gigging bug never bit her. Right? She never was in an outfit or
No.
jammed or anything like that. Do they have 3 in Santa Fe?
2.
2, but also olderish, right?
One's a senior, and
Damn.
the other is. Oh man, don't quote me on this, dude. Like now we're on radio. I think maybe she might be a freshman.
Okay. Wow.
Or something. Like
and they still have the brewery?
They still have the brewery.
Cool. And are you representing right now? Nice. Is that
Santa Fe Brewing Company?
Come
down.
Or you can find it on the shelves here, right? You cans?
No.
Nowhere?
Used to. They left this market
How come?
a while ago.
Not
I
enough.
think they were trying to focus more on sort of what they had regionally.
Okay.
Because there's just quite a bit of demand. And
Okay. And is that like...
that's a question for him.
I know, but I mean, you know better than I do. So
Not really.
Is that a full-time gig for both of them, or does she do her own thing and he?
No, she kind of helps with that.
Okay.
So yeah, no, it's
Cool.
definitely a full gig for him. It's a pretty large place.
So mom and dad were playing like Beatles and shit, or what kind of records were they putting on?
Oh, if they were putting on records, I mean, stuff
Albums, however.
Well, yeah. I don't know. In the car it was like the oldies 95. Which is probably what a lot of people say, like that we listened to on the way to school. So a lot of like Supremes and
Sure.
Temptations and stuff like that, which is all great stuff.
Good for the soul.
At home, just a mixed bag of. You ended up with the quirky nonsense of like the Cocktail soundtrack. I had to listen to Bobby McFerrin like a ton when that came out.
Did you ever listen to his Circle Songs record?
No, I bet it's good though.
Oh
Probably.
my God, it is fucking amazing. It's just all vocals, and it's not really any word. It's just and it's scat basically. But I mean, it is like grounding. I mean, it was part of this. My son was born here. It was one of the couple records that were playing while all that was happening. It's really good stuff though. Like
for Serenity.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
It would have been like Ravi Shankar or something like everybody.
I remember playing Anugama. It's like a trance meditational show. Like I know of it because my therapist would play it in her office in the back. So he's got 2
massage therapist.
No.
Oh.
Noodle.
Yeah, the head
Yeah.
massage.
And so I forget, he's got a bunch of records, but one of them is like a part 1 and part 2. It's the part 2. So it was that and Bobby McFerrin Circle Songs, and they were fantastic.
He shows up on a Dizzy Gillespie record.
Seriously.
It was To Bird with Love.
Meaning Charlie.
It's actually kind of hard to find. Yeah.
Meaning Parker.
That it was supposed to be a tribute, live kind of thing.
Cool.
To him, and McFerrin was in the audience. Like I read about this because all of a sudden you just hear him going.
Oh, for real?
Apparently they just shoved a mic in his face while he was in the
it.
audience, and he just started rocking it.
Nice.
It's pretty cool. I'll play it for you.
Yeah. So how about first acquisition or first love album-wise for you? I'm assuming at some point you started a collection.
Yeah, it's like I've got such a weird. I mean, we've talked about this before. I've got a pretty weird taste. I mean, like any kid, you start with, garbagey kid stuff,
such as
like the Monkees,
okay,
which I wouldn't technically call garbage, but there's a lot of very easy listening Monkees poppy tunes, but there's a lot of other stuff they played that I still listen to. I think it's pretty good.
I mean, our good friend Mr. Zappa famously said in talking about the Beatles, like, they were whatever, but truth be told, I preferred the Monkees.
Yeah, I do remember seeing that. It's kind of funny. So
yeah.
I guess maybe we might have something in common there. Although, you can't bag on the Beatles.
No,
really,
I know. And his thing, the quote is a big giant thing. and it's all about how success in his eyes, their success, like a lot of artists, is tied to capitalism and kind of an outfit and a hairdo and a lunchbox that goes along with all of it. And
Well, I mean, that was the weird thing about the Monkees. They were like the first manufactured band, weren't they? Like legitimately, like auditions. Boy 1, we need boy 1, boy 2, boy 3, and boy 4.
really, they weren't buddies.
There are a lot of no.
Okay.
Yeah, little Davy Jones, I'm sure, was hanging out with Mickey Dolenz. I mean, like, he's British. Yeah, they grew up next door to each other.
Right.
No, I mean, I'm not even sure they technically all liked each other.
Okay.
But, I mean,
I didn't know any of that.
but all accounts would say they probably did, I guess. But
So
nonetheless, they were
manufactured.
they were casted.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
those
really...
documentaries on those guys are pretty interesting. I don't know. I mean, I think they are.
So you had your collection may or may not have started with a Monkees album, or it was an early.
First tapes, like, because like Dizzy Gillespie was probably one of the first live on the French Riviera, was like one of an early one.
At what age?
Like when I was actually buying stuff myself.
Or getting it for presents.
Fourth grade. Monkeys probably happened before that, like probably in second.
You bought yourself a Dizzy Gillespie album in fourth grade.
It was a tape.
A tape.
Yeah.
The album. It counts. It covers.
All right, gotcha.
Covers all.
I
of
still
them.
have it.
Okay. That's not. You said your stuff is kind of weird. That's not weird. That's like phenomenal.
I think
mean,
that's weird for a kid to be into Dizzy Gillespie live on the French Riviera. That should get your ass kicked.
I was also doing my parents' taxes and framing houses.
Blues Brothers, I think, was an early one.
Okay.
Jimi Hendrix,
Sure.
Essentials. I got that pretty early. I don't know. Just it was definitely a mixed bag of stuff. Ray Stevens, who didn't like Guitar Zan as a kid.
So when you, I guess maybe you didn't stop piano lessons, but at some point a bass wound up in your hand. I mean, did you do any six string first, or did you go straight to bass? And
well, I started playing. I took guitar lessons, I guess, but in third grade, I think maybe I started that, and that didn't go on forever. I think I only did that for 3 years, maybe.
Okay,
then
nothing.
You just started noodling around, and I already. Like I said, you learn all the theory in piano,
right?
So it's just how do you play the notes and just get used to, doing the stuff,
right?
But then, no, trumpet, fifth grade was probably the biggest thing.
Okay, so all right.
So I played a lot of trumpet over the years.
I mean, and is that a thing that you can practice or rehearse in your home and not have everybody else hear it?
No.
I didn't think so.
No.
But everybody just tolerates.
My parents are great.
Okay. Are they?
It paid off pretty good. I did pretty well. I mean, eventually it becomes musical.
Right.
Yeah, you gotta.
They're still together, and everybody, the five of you.
Despite all that, yeah.
The five of you everybody's legit and gets along.
I don't like one of them.
One of your parents, or one of your siblings. One of the people.
I just won't say. Just one of the other four.
Right.
If you guys are watching, yes.
For you. Man, so when you start trumpet as piano, I'm trying to get to how, because eventually you settled on bass, right?
Well, I still kind of do all of it.
Okay.
A little bit in different capacities, but yeah, bass is what I've been doing the most of lately. It's a little easier, man. I mean, you gotta put the horn on your face quite a bit to keep it up.
Right.
So it's a much larger commitment, and the times when I can practice that, I need a room like this,
right,
in my basement,
right,
so that I can actually honk away while people are asleep, because otherwise, and my dog howls when I do it too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Actually hilarious, but
but you still pick it up from time to time.
Yeah.
And do you dabble in keys piano at all, or?
That's usually what I do with the
Jort. I thought so. That's
keys
probably
and horn.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll do both.
That's probably why I imagined that there were keys in the thing we were listening to upstairs, because I can definitely picture you at Harling's in front of I don't remember the brand, but a legit looking setup.
That was probably a Nord.
Okay.
I started carrying that little red Nord around.
Okay.
Almost every keyboard player you see,
Right.
is playing a red keyboard.
So how many
it's a Nord,
instruments
awesome.
total do you have?
Oh my god!
Like double digits?
What do we? Yeah, like what
All
instrument?
of them. All of them.
I have a ukulele. I have a mandolin.
Damn.
I have, I think, 8 basses now. I've got
Combo of electric and upright.
4 keyboards, I think.
Oh wow.
2 trumpets, 1 flugelhorn. Yeah,
And they're all relatively in working order. Like you could pick any of those. The mandolin and the ukulele, they get a little love from time to time. Occasionally.
Yeah, the ukulele is kind of a silly one.
Well, it's nice.
Daughter likes to pick it up and mess around with it every once in a while.
There you go. So when we were first messaging, you didn't hesitate too terribly long to shoot me a record, and it was a Eureka, California outfit formed in 1985 called Mr. Bungle.
Yeah.
And they put out their self-titled debut in 1991. And when I saw it, I was like, I know that name, but I don't know how. And then I sat down with it, and I was like,
had you heard it before?
No.
Oh.
Not at all. I'm still processing, honestly. The first thing that caught my eye was Mike Patton, Faith No More.
Sure.
Which, I don't really have any association with beyond, what was You Want It All, But You Can't Have. Was the name of that tune? Was it Epic?
The one where he's like, it's almost like a dirty shower scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like and he had that famous...
They just got water pouring on him.
Grammy performance where he like flopped on the stage like the fish at the end of... Remember that?
Yeah. The guy's a great front man.
I mean, he's... and Scott Ian from Anthrax and Slayer's Dave Lombardo, not and a few others.
Well, for like, and because they came back and did something a couple of years ago, and it was like way more thrashy than the album that we're talking about. The album we're talking about is just the original one, and it's like schizophrenic almost.
That is a perfect descriptor for it because and I read before I listened that unconventional song structures and multi-genre sometimes within songs, and I was like, wait, that's all they do is jump in and out of genres within one song.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a mind fuck, really. Like all very cool stuff, but like, I mean, you have to know writing and recording and producing an album like that your channel of listeners is going to be a pretty narrow scope because most people are going to eject being like, I don't know what this is, right?
Yeah, it's not 1-4-5 with a simple 4 beat.
No.
Like you're not dancing to it. Not easily, anyway.
So in and out of genres, a wide array of instruments, dressing up in masks, jumpsuits, and costumes, doing original stuff and covers. I mean... every track, man, and quote unquote, like 56 seconds in, just when you think, I know what this song's going to be about, complete left turn, slowly growing deaf, ripping bass intro, and I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be like some cool cow funk, like Get Down, and then that departs and goes, a completely different direction.
It comes back.
But special kind of mind required to enter this type of project and be serious, like kind of, all along.
The crazy thing is like that. So like I think it was like 2000, maybe and I think you can find it like on YouTube, like a live show where the bass player is dressed like Swiss Miss.
Hot Cocoa?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
And I swear, other than the dedicated keyboard player, I think there's maybe only one. There might be 2. Patton's got a keyboard. The lead guitar player has a keyboard.
Okay.
there are keyboards all over the place, and to see it live, and it's funny because like a lot of the stuff that I gave you was like live stuff.
Yeah,
I like the live stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's more true to form than recording tricks and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's nice to see if can you pull it off, without pre-recording a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, can you guys actually play it like live?
Right.
What would that sound like?
I mean, not.
And it's crazy because they pull off a couple of those tunes, and you're like, dude, it's so sporadic. It would
Live, they pull it off
changing the
on this YouTube?
changing the voices, hitting the pedals and stuff because it constantly is jumping. I don't know how they do it. I mean,
How'd you discover these guys?
Jenna and Matt and I all own that album.
Really?
That was one common, album that we all had. We all liked it.
Huh?
I don't know why. I guess we're all crazy.
You don't know where. You don't know
we
where.
all like clowns,
Right?
and circus music.
We all have a red balloon tied to the sewer in front of our homes.
It is bizarre because a lot of it is circusy sounding.
But it sounds professional. I mean, like it's not. There's
they're
joking around.
They're incredibly good.
Yeah,
like, no doubt.
So you don't know who heard it first or had it first, or
I don't.
I mean,
one of them,
right?
I think I think that's how I found it. Was probably because of one of them. And in all honesty, if it had to be anybody, it probably would have been Jenna because she liked Faith No More. Matt and I weren't
that
like
sounds familiar.
Running around like with grungy stuff. She was the one wearing the Doc Martens and back then. So.
Yeah, somebody that all before I got to know her was like I bet if you had beef with that girl, she'd probably fuck you up. Like she had a hard edge, at least superficially.
Well, Matt and I trained her. And we were constantly training.
There you go. I mean,
I'm scared of her, if that's what you're asking.
Stub-a-dub. There's like a symphony kind of ballad feeling. Like I was like, oh, this is going to be the mellow track of the whole collection, just for 36 seconds or whatever it is, and then down the fucking roller coaster chute again.
And that one's just kind of disturbing, with like the lyrics.
I think there's a small element of disturbing.
And everybody has had an old dog. We were just talking about your old dog.
Yeah.
Or, where it's roll over and die.
I mean,
like Stub-a-Dub will never die. And then literally at the end of the song, you can hear him like, that's him wheezing. Like,
yeah.
Woo!
Yeah. I mean,
since we can't play it on the air, I'll just start.
Well, I mean, I've sung a few bars. Tried to. I totally nailed that, and then later I'll listen and be like, that doesn't sound anything like that.
Well, that'll happen too.
But
I don't have a pitchfork.
There's a great run of track titles to close the thing out. My Ass is on Fire, The Girls of Porn, Love is a Fist, and it wraps with Dead Goon. I mean, just beautiful. Like they nailed the title track or the title names there.
It's almost just daring to be offensive on quite a bit of it. There's. Yeah, it's just crazy enough that, and I think I told you this before too, that when you get presented with that kind of dumb question of if you could only have 5 albums on a deserted island, what would they be?
Yeah,
and you're like, I don't know, geez, I mean, how long am I on the island?
Right, right.
I'm not picking polka then.
There was a dude who's just a friend of a friend. He did his episode drops tomorrow, actually, or Thursday. But he could not get that concept out of his mind and was texting all these. I was like, that's not the thing. The thing is not desert island list. The thing is your sort of the tributary of your life and key moments where records or artists or whatever. And let's talk about them. But he kept going, and he had to. It's not just. It can't just be. It's got to be the artist's entire discography. And he was so obsessed with it that when we finished taping, I was like, why do we think that we're gonna have like electricity and Wi-Fi on this island that we're trying to like? What in the absolute fuck? Like,
No, it's one of those record players that you
Right.
sit there and somebody has to crank it, but you have to crank. Hopefully, you have rhythm,
right?
right?
Yeah,
So you can crank it
at the right speed.
at 33
Right.
RPMs, man.
But I mean,
Unless you were dumb enough to pick a 45.
I mean,
Then you're like, geez, man, we only have like 7 minutes of music here
Yeah.
total. Like, this
yeah,
sucks.
we have
Who picked this?
a hit with a bullet in the chart and a B-side.
The bullet.
Right. So I made my way through Mr. Bungle, and then you shot me a few others, which was a really fascinating list. And if we go chronologically, it starts with.
Oh, I didn't mean you'd have to touch all of them, but, I
Well,
was just throwing some stuff out there
But
for
why?
fodder.
Why not?
What? I don't know if you had listened to them. Some of them, I'm like, if you haven't heard them, you should just give them a listen to.
Do you remember my buddy Nate Wilkie, who was in my class?
Huh?
His older brother did an episode, and he's 10 years older. So, like, when I met Nate in 6th grade, like, he was already in Lawrence. So I didn't even know he existed. But he's a longtime jazz musician, guitar, looking for gigs, if you ever know of anybody. But he did one, and he gave me, like, 15 jazz records, which was an undertaking, to say the least. But it felt, when I first looked at it, it felt very comprehensive, and then afterwards I was very pleased, having
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
been told. Well, sadly, I lost video on his camera for that one, so it's only audio. But it's still a really good conversation, and I was really happy that I had somebody to say, listen to all these records. And so there's some really, really fantastic names and records in that episode from his list. There's no Dizzy Gillespie. And you gave me Dizzy at Newport 1957, which kind of fits right into the window of things that he and I talked about on his. And this record is, I mean, it's fantastic. 9 tracks, an hour and 12 minutes. It's got a Manteca.
It's got Cool Breeze in it.
It's got
too.
Cool
And
Breeze.
Breeze is like one of the cool trombone solo. Whoever says that. They just don't happen that, right? It's hard to get, sorry, trombone fans out there, but,
I mean,
it's hard to get super excited sometimes about a trombone solo, but I would say that.
So episode 42 is not out yet, but it's with a cat named Kadesh Flo, who... So Margaret Buckner was in our grade, and then younger sister Annabelle, R.I.P. in peace. She passed away to cancer a few years ago. She was like Tiff's age-ish.
Okay.
But then Brad was a year older than us, and he gigs with Tiki Brawlers and Casey Green. And Casey Green does a lot of shows at the Ship. And so he did an episode, and then I learned about his bands and went and saw him. And this dude, Kadesh Flo, is a trombonist and a rapper. And he's kind of got a frontman vibe energy to him, and he's really good at both. And he's also like way into anime,
Okay. I'm not sure how that ties into
No,
everything, but fair enough.
I mean,
All right.
but if you Google him, like, it's,
I'm coming
well,
after you. Yeah. You'll have to cut to my camera for that part.
it's more. Oh, I will. It's more like all of the like Dragon Ball Z,
Yeah.
and they all have powers and stuff that I can't speak to. But I didn't. I thought it was going to be like, I think I thought it was going to be all instrumental, just a jazz set. And then it wasn't, because they had a rapper and a trombonist, and I was like, that really is amazing and elevates shit. And he's been told at some point, like, it's not going to work for you to like marry all these things. You got to pick a lane. And he's like, nah.
No, I agree with that.
So point being,
figure out what you want to do. I guess my point was, how many famous trombone players other than Fred Wesley and J.J. Johnson could you name?
I could have only maybe given you Fred Wesley, but that's weird because
And
the
you're
trombone
like,
is a fantastic sound.
yeah, it's just, but remember back like in middle school and like elementary school, the only kids that played the trombone were like the kids that played football. Like they were the big kids that had the long arms,
Okay,
so that
fair,
they could
fair,
get into seventh and eighth position.
fair.
So it's like there's nothing sexier than a trombone
Right.
solo, right? I mean, can you imagine, being on a balcony in Monte Carlo with your special lady, like just busting out
Are you a
a
stand-up?
super sexy trombone solo?
Are you a stand-up comedy fan at all?
Oh yeah.
So Ari Shafir, I don't know if you know him. He just put out a new special called Jew. The whole thing, it's like an hour and 10, 15 minutes. The whole thing is about Judaism. It's really fascinating and by far the best work he's ever done. It is super, super funny. But it's so he kind of
Just making fun of Judaism.
talking about weird things about Judaism and comparing and contrasting to other or religions, etc. But at one point, when he gets to Garden of Eden and talking about Adam and Eve and there's a conversation I think between God and Adam happening and masturbation comes up and Adam's like, I mean, is it okay? And God's like, of course it's okay. Look how long I made your arm. It's a perfect fit.
That's pretty silly.
But this Dizzy Gillespie, this Newport, I was trying to, with Nate's brother Adam, I was trying to because now the Jazz Fest, at least the one time I went, is called the Heritage Jazz Fest, but Newport Jazz Fest, did it become that, or have there been separate Jazz Fests in New Orleans, or?
Well, Newport
Is that Rhode
Newport
Island?
was in California.
Oh, California. Okay.
Newport, California.
Okay. All right, my bad on that. But regardless, 11 dudes. I mean, it's not a small outfit.
I think Lee Morgan plays on that too. And Lee Morgan had like a big career as a trumpet player,
Okay.
solo, and I could be wrong about that. So
either way,
don't put that in the comments. I'll check it later.
yeah, heavy comment sections. Occasionally there's one. Most often there's
Somebody's
zero.
gonna be mad.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
nobody's gonna
Well,
say.
we can say something that'll make somebody mad. I'm sure.
But either way, it's a really great.
It rocks, man. I mean, it's
the
got
50s. I mean, like Miles was putting out a ton of really amazing stuff back then. Coltrane, of course.
But that was all that big band stuff that just moves, right?
Yeah.
Like, and you have some room to improv, but it's there's a lot of script
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
Right. There's charts. You got a ton of guys that are all playing at the
Yeah.
same time, which is why it's probably common to a number of those. Like, most of the stuff that I sent to you was all multiple guys playing stuff.
Yeah. Oh well.
And you're like, the Don Ellis Orchestra too. Same
that
thing,
dude,
and it's just nuts.
Never
And
heard of that guy.
and enjoy that
It's
because it's crazy.
a little out there and some lengthy tracks and some wild.
If you read up on him too, he's fascinating.
The album cover art is like a 3-shot image of his face. He looks a little crazy.
Well, I actually, in contemplation of coming here, because I gave you that, I was like, oh, maybe I should brush up on my lore. But that I didn't know that he took a class essentially metrics on, because a lot of his stuff was famous because it had crazy time signatures.
Okay.
So, and I haven't looked it up. I would assume he and Zappa probably were at least liked each other.
Crossing streams.
I don't know if they ever met one another, but they were doing a lot of pretty nutty.
Well, there's 13 dudes
stuff
in this one.
Yeah.
11 tracks, an hour and 27 minutes, which is way longer than a lot of your jazz album running time situations back then. There's weird stuff like a 10-minute, 40-second Hey Jude.
Which is strange as
It
all
is
hell,
it's
yeah.
very couple minutes, you're like, there it is, and then you lose it, and then there it is again. Oh, it's gone. And a 12-minute closer called Pussy Wiggle Stomp.
Yeah, that's a great song.
It's a good song. How is that?
It's good.
Can I have one? Yeah. I'm too lazy to go leave the room and get another Guinness.
That's no problem.
Thank you.
Which I just bought some of those again the other day because I kind of forgot about
Space Camper Hyperwarp. Camera's probably too far away to see.
This show is brought to you by...
Right. And 5.9. Not bad.
Oh, yeah, you asked earlier. I didn't even look.
Start getting into 6s and 8s. And
That's not why I drink. I don't look for the ABV.
Strictly flavor?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I thought it was NA.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It's fine.
You're going to have to go back to the store you got it at and file an official complaint.
They got more coolers for NA beer now than I've ever seen.
Well, they have a cooler for seltzers and a cooler for NA beers.
Oh, no, seltzers get like four
coolers.
NA gets like almost a full one though now.
Yeah, forever. Ooh, that's good.
Some of those are actually pretty good.
There, I did a good long bit where I was St. Pauli Girl NA, and then after that, I found Old Milwaukee. Has a fantastic, just a plain old red can, good stuff.
I think we should talk about a number of different products in contemplation of sponsorship for this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that nobody looks at any of that until you get enough eyeballs and eardrums, and I'm not even it's just not even worth the time. I mean,
well, not yet. I mean,
not yet.
The My Pillow guy, he'll do it.
My Pillow. Who is that?
Oh, that's Fox News. Vanny's on.
Oh
every
God,
5 minutes.
I don't know who that is, but it sounds terrible.
Sells pillows.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only pillow ad,
and like everything else.
I've only seen the ads for the square pillow. You know what I'm talking about?
They revolutionized the pillow from taking it from a rectangle to a square.
Yeah. It's better for your neck and back, and get out of here.
8 out of 10 scientists.
Right.
Agree.
So I lost the year for that Don Ellis, but it's got to be in between 57 and 71.
No, he did. He died in 74.
Okay.
I think it was. Well, you get the computer.
Yeah,
I think it was 71 too.
Let's see here. Old Don Ellis.
I mean, which coincidentally was the same year.
70.
70. So then the next year, the
Fillmore East.
Yeah,
Zappa and the Mothers of Invention.
Yeah. I was like, it's kind of weird that it's too bad I didn't live near the Fillmore East.
Yeah,
around that particular period of time.
So this was really the first Zappa record that somebody was like, check it out.
Which one was?
Fillmore East, 71.
Was the one that you got the pencil front album?
What's
was
that?
The first one you got?
The first one that somebody said, I think somebody made me a copy of it.
That's great.
Yeah, and I was like...
It's a good introduction, too.
It's also a lot. I mean, because as it turns out, and I'm not... my 80s Zappa knowledge is very, very limited. Because I was going a different... I spent a good chunk in the Zappa pocket, and by the time I got to the 80s stuff, I was like, maybe I'll come back.
Valley girl, she's a valley girl, stuff like that. Yeah, I know, I saw it already.
Okay, I mean, that's you can't find. You can't find. I love that image so much, but you can't find any merch that doesn't have the lettering, the verbiage, the artist and the title, the album title. It's all. But I love that image so much that it had to be. Anyway, so what ended up being my favorite Zappa pocket, and still is, without having spent a lot of time in the 80s, is the kind of past the early Mothers shit, and so the 70s, like,
so past Lumpy Gravy.
I love Lumpy Gravy for what it is. All through college, they're my actual answering machine, outgoing, had a snippet, and I didn't say anything. It was literally just that. And there's a section of, I think it's side 2.
Did you get a lot of messages?
most people would be like, I'm calling for, but
I met you last night, but never mind.
yeah. That was not. I was never. The concept of like approaching a girl at a bar was always like, "Are you out of your mind?" Like, no way. Like, I just wasn't. Anyway, there's a section of
Not if you're leading with that. Hey, you into Zappa?
yeah, right. Do you know Lumpy Gravy? What is he has suspenders and a big long fro and says like Pipco or something.
Yeah.
But there's 2 tracks I think on that record, and they're both like 30 minutes long. And the second one there's a section where one of the guys is like and fight and the other guy goes and pick up sticks, and he goes yeah, pick up sticks, and starts just laughing insanely. So I had like that 30 sec anyway. But yes, Freak Out and Lumpy like all that early stuff, like I appreciate it for what it is, but it's not.
Weasels Rip My Flesh.
Weasels Rip My Flesh is trending in the direction that I
actually bought that. This, if anybody remembers this, I doubt they do. I bought this for a girl.
That album?
Yeah.
With the guy holding the weasel like a
clearly
razor?
I'm not married to this person.
Right.
The funniest thing about it, yeah, because it's obviously creepy looking from the outside.
Oh, it looks like a, hey, come by our
yeah, well, open it up, take a listen, just for fun. Yeah.
And?
I went back to Best Buy where I'd bought it, and it was back there. She returned it.
How do you know?
Because I'd pulled the price off, and they had put another label on it. And I was like, dude, I could swear to God, sure, I returned it. All right, that's fine.
Like on cassette?
No, CD.
Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway,
kind of a dumb thing to give somebody, I guess, right? Like, hey, instead of flowers, you give them a cartoon of a guy getting his face ripped off by a weasel. But very thoughtful music, and I really felt like it was.
I sort of like lived in this plane for a number of decades where I thought that like one day I would meet the life partner, the significant other that was like just 158% same path, same as me. No, it's like I got so tired of like being this is the girl that's gonna like fish or weasels or whatever. But I like that record. It's trending, but anyway, Hot Rats and Chic Your Beauty, Apostrophe, Overnight Sensation. Joe's is my all-time favorite. I mean, I think it's just a masterpiece. But
we've talked about playing like just basic Joe's Garage.
The title track?
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a good song.
I mean, it's fine. It's long, and it doesn't do it. It's probably one of the least exciting numbers that he does, but it's also very catchy.
I love that song.
And that's the irony of it, though, is that it's drawn up to be a basic garage band tune.
But it's
and
not.
It's also why people kind of like it.
There's some fantastic horn riffs in there. Anyway, bend strings, yeah. But so for Fillmore East 71 to be my intro, I was like, I listened to it a bunch because I was like, I've known all my life that at some point Zappa was going to be a thing that I at very least studied. And so when I finally have a highly recommended record, I was like, I don't know where to put this at all. Because you've got, all of these, you can tell, even the untrained ear, I think, can tell that there's a lot of really, really high-end musicianship happening. I mean, xylophones and, sound effect. Anyway, but then vocally, what they're doing, I'm like, are we supposed to take this seriously?
Like all the falsetto voice stuff.
Yes, yeah.
From Flo and Eddie, which, I mean, and you know the story behind why they were called Flo and Eddie.
I don't at all, so please.
So when they were with the Turtles, they had broken off, and I may be sort of screwing this up, but they were being sued essentially for you're not allowed to be on another label. You're not supposed to be performing. They weren't allowed to use their own names.
Okay.
And at one point, Dweezil had this problem with Ahmed, where they were like, "You're not allowed to call it Dweezil Zappa plays Zappa." He's like, "That's my name. I can't use my own."
Wait. Time out. Ahmet was saying that Dweezil.
Yeah, he was still part of the family trust. The family trust finally sold the whole vault to.
That's my least favorite element of being a Zappa fan is all the things that the trust
No, that's
did.
why they're coming out like crazy now, because Gail, when she died.
She died? When?
She died 2 or 3 years ago.
Really?
And so Ahmed was basically in charge, and he just sold the whole vault over to. Yeah, you look that up too, just to make sure that we're fact checking what I'm saying.
Well, I'm embarrassed to not know that.
But when that happened, they'd already started fighting, even when Gail was still alive. About the Zappa plays Zappa stuff.
That's so disappointing.
I'm not even sure I'm allowed to say it. Actually,
right.
On rate. Yeah, don't broadcast this. Maybe we edit this. You can go.
No, don't be ridiculous.
We can just rub just like the Zappa part. So we don't actually say his name.
You're being ridiculous.
You hate to do that. Because remember when they came back out, it was just called Zappa Plays Zappa.
100%. I went and saw.
And then it turned into Dweezil Plays the Music of Frank Zappa, and then it was like, what? I mean, what are we doing now at this point?
I went and saw.
But Flo and Eddie was the same thing. They were like, you can't call yourself Howie Kalin and Mark Volman.
Adelaide Gale Sloatman. Damn, she's been dead since 2015.
Oh, so 7 years ago.
Wow. Okay, so
time flies, man.
Occupations listed as trustee of Zappa Family Trust. So she died, and what happened?
Ahmed took over.
And was it by design it went to him?
I think.
Okay, and he was being equally dickish? Well,
ultimately, he just ended up selling the whole thing off,
right.
Which is great, right? Because ultimately, the big dorks, are us. Right? And so, well, why don't you hurry up and get all this stuff out before we all die?
Right.
It would be a real travesty if everybody's listening to techno 10 years from now and nothing else. And
yeah.
Zappa's name just who cares?
And,
you just wasted all that stuff. You were sitting on it kind of like wine. It's like dying with a full wine cellar.
Right.
Like you blew it.
The dude that gifted me the Hot Rats, for his episode, I tried to take a section of a little green Rosetta and cut it because I knew it would definitely, it's going to pop up no matter what because it's the trust, right? So I took the section that I like and I just cut it like super hard and just mashed them together. So it's very, very audible that's what I did.
Still found it?
Well, but when I went to list it, because I always say like, I don't own the rights, the blah, blah, blah. This comes care of blah, blah, blah. And the verbiage on their thing is like exclusive. I mean, it's just full of, just like, God damn it. Seriously?
So like at some point did you ever see Project Object play?
What is it?
Project Object.
No.
That was Ike Willis.
Okay.
And who was
Terry Bozzio?
And it was Ike and he was pretty much the main guy.
Okay.
From Zappa, but and this is from my brother, so I don't know if this is true either, but I'm pretty sure it is. That they were rifling at anybody that was playing Zappa tunes without permission. He apparently was granted somewhere. Frank granted him full rights to play his music wherever he wants. So that project was menacing to Gail and the Zappa Family Trust because they weren't getting any money on it because he was allowed to play it.
That's my whole thing, man. Like at some point, the Zappa family has enough money.
Well, I mean, who knows how much money they actually have?
I mean, he put out 65 records, and
you would think that they're doing okay, but I
don't know. Fair. I don't know either.
They're doing better than I am. I mean, and you, probably,
right,
collectively.
Yes, yeah, I would think so. But
so anyway, Flo and Eddie.
Flo and Eddie, yes.
Yeah, so they weren't allowed to use their names, so they just started calling themselves Flo and Eddie.
I mean,
which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
But like their stuff, that genre, that era still remains to be kind of one of my favorites.
Really?
Just because of the fact that, well, I mean, for different reasons, right? You can, like you said, 60 some odd albums over a pretty long period of time, spanning a bunch of different genres. If you don't like one Zappa tune, there's something wrong with you.
100%.
There's got to be at least one that you're like, that's good.
Yeah.
And I've played a bunch of them in a row, like a bunch of different styled ones from different times to people. I'm like, back when you used to make mixtapes.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, do you like this?
Hey there,
Like,
people. I'm Bobby Brown.
It's all right. I'm like, okay, how about this one? That one's good. Okay. What about this one? All right. And this one. It's almost like an eye exam.
Yeah.
This one or this one?
Right.
And they're like, yeah, that one's pretty good too. All right, so what am I looking at? They're all Zappa, dude. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, you just need to dive in. There's
right.
just too much of it out there.
Well, by the time I had three listens to this, I was like, this is not a concert. This is a major production, and it's like theatrical, and there's so many little intricacies and nuances, and
some of it sounds like it's like improv, and some of it actually is, but like a lot of it is like intentional, improv.
Yeah.
Where it sounds like it's off the cuff, but no, I guarantee you they rehearsed that. There's no way that they would punch it like they did.
I mean, it's wild. What top three? If you gun to your head, top three out of the whole discography, top three records
of his.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's hard because of all the post. Because like I said,
not posthumous.
All right. Well, because we were talking earlier, and I think this point's salient. The 8-disc.
Oh yeah.
Thing they put out a couple of years ago. That of course I went and bought, and I don't, I can get it, but I bought a copy of it because I wanted to keep it. Is all the Fillmore year, it's the Fillmore show, but it's all of the Fillmore shows because they played more than one,
right?
And couple of, I think like Philadelphia maybe, and something overseas, I think. And it's just when people ask me about why do you like that guy so much, and it's not just, well, it is this too. 8 discs, a lot of times playing some of the same tunes, very varied quite a bit. So it's kind of interesting to hear him do it from night to night because they full on change,
It's crazy.
Some of the stuff. You're like, they obviously rehearsed again in that morning and say, hey, last night I hated this. Let's do it this way.
But are set lists? Do you know? Do set lists look identical? But
no, they're not identical.
Okay.
So they still sub some stuff out. I mean, and it, that's one of the things that was cool is that seeing. He'd play a lot of tunes over time too, and you just hear different ways.
Yeah.
They'd just be completely different. You're like, how cool is that? It's the same song.
I feel like
I've figured out a much different way to play it this time, and I like this one too.
I feel like I've heard one of my favorite tracks. God, I might get this wrong. Charlena, I think, is on Burnt Weenie Sandwich, and I feel like I've heard very different versions of that tune, just randomly. Not that I sought it out, but like, what is that? But so this 8-disc box, is it a box set?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I obviously with 8 discs on it, it's an easy one to pick too. Because it's
kind of cheating.
It's all flowing eddies. I know it is.
Studio
I
releases.
I always like Grand Wazoo.
Okay. All right.
Hot Rats is a winner. I mean, I don't want to pick like a bunch of instrumental stuff. It kind of shows that I don't care that much about the lyrics sometimes, but I obviously do because I like the flow and eddy area.
Yeah.
But,
I'm gonna have to revisit Grand Wazoo.
I don't know, dude. They're just like, as far as being good as a whole, like the whole album, Apostrophe and Tinseltown Rebellion.
Yeah,
were both pretty solid.
Man,
I don't. There's just too much stuff. There's just too much of it. I don't know.
How?
Waka Jawaka's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Still
yeah.
too. And
Have you ever like gone down interview YouTube rabbit hole with him and just
watch him being interviewed.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Oh, it's great.
so like there's one where it might be Barbara Walters and he's sick. Like the stuff is settled in, but he's still got his Winstons and she's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I mean, I see tobacco as a food group and right now tobacco is my favorite food group." Next question, and she's just like, and then of course
He didn't die from lung cancer.
no,
He
not
made-
panc,
prostate.
prostate.
Yeah,
Yes.
I remember it.
But
Actually, I had people tell me in middle school, like, "Hey, sorry about Frank."
really,
I was like, "How did you know?"
right?
It's
Wow.
just kind of weird to tell me that too.
Yeah,
Like, apparently, I was advertising the fact that I was weird,
I mean,
where people already knew. I don't know.
what was your guys' middle school or elementary and middle?
Mission Valley
Mission Valley, and what about
or
elementary?
Meadowbrook.
Meadowbrook,
Now
right?
it's an old folks home,
Yeah, it's not there
so
anymore.
we can just move back in later.
Everybody,
Yeah. Hey, I'm back.
Mark was here. Look,
Yeah.
I told you.
I want my same lock.
Yeah. I still remember the combo. But I love that one is just, I mean, there's lots of really good clips out there of him talking establishment, capitalism, it's you name it, and he's kills it. And then of course the PMRC hearings.
I remember reading those at like a convention where I was kind of bored and not really paying attention to the speaker, and just started going down the rabbit hole of reading the transcripts
Okay.
from that.
Oh wow.
And then I was like, oh my God.
The PMRC stuff?
Yeah, and then I was like, I gotta watch this.
Dude.
And so I went home and immediately YouTubed it, and it's like in 5 clips, or is it all in one clip now?
I think maybe it is.
They
but
were all spread out.
regardless,
And I was like, I'll just keep clicking, I guess. And he just dresses down everybody on the planet.
every politician in the room that you can see them like, get this fucking guy. Like, what the fuck?
We picked the wrong guy
Yeah.
to have up here.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't call him. I think I don't know. How did he get called up there?
I think
The musicians wanted him to be up there? Because I guarantee you the labels didn't really want him.
I think he kind of just took it upon himself.
I don't know how he got that invite, but good for him.
Well, and
because it's classic. He
it's-
just literally just wrecks
and
multiple people on that
weird
panel.
trio: D. Snyder, John Denver, and Frank Zappa. And D. Snyder and John Denver make great small points, and then they're done. But Frank has like a briefcase and a stack of
They
papers.
should have done like a traveling Wilburys project while they were there.
I like that.
D. Snyder, Frank Zappa, and John Denver. What the hell?
I love that.
Sound like?
First Traveling Wilburys record so much. It's so good.
Still pretty good. They don't do enough of those kind of things, man.
That's the only real, I mean, whatever.
Because now rock stars aren't rock stars anymore. It's all pop stars, right?
Yeah.
They're just like,
Yeah.
who would you get for gravitas?
Again, I love the whole because they did volume 1 and volume 3, but no volume 2. And volume 3 is okay. Volume 1's the real, and I one of my favorite things about it is the end of the line video where they have the empty rocking chair for Roy. R.I.P. in peace to Mr. Orbison.
That's actually, they didn't do a volume 2.
No, volume 1 and volume 3.
So is that supposed to be like ironic, kind of like Ween's 12 country golden hits?
Yeah,
You're
I
like,
think
there's only
so.
10 goddamn songs out here. These guys are jerks, man. What the hell?
Man, they got gypped out of 2 songs at the record
Oh,
store.
man, I want to hear the Piss on the Rope reprise.
Right. So that's 71, and then 72, Foxtrot, Genesis. 6 tracks.
Oh, we're going to hit all these. I like it, man.
Just
Go for it.
Dip in and out, and then we got to get you out of here at some point. I mean, it's a school night.
Duke's playing KE.
Right, that 11 minutes ago they tipped off.
Oh, shit. See, that's why you're urgent.
No, you have a drive.
I'd be urgent, too.
You have a drive.
That's fine.
And a wife and kids that
They'll be asleep by the time we're finished.
Does the doctor turn in early, relatively speaking?
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay. Do you guys get out?
Stays awfully busy, man,
Does she?
with work and stuff.
What does she do?
Works for insurance.
Okay. Do you guys get out ever and like gather with people in the?
Sometimes.
Okay.
I mean, coordinating those kind of efforts and
There was a small window I recall, where I think you guys were where you are now, but would occasionally still zip down if there was a thing to do. But then I think
just invite us. We'll be.
I
happy
think
to
that
come
window closed, and I remember hearing people like they always want everybody to come out to them.
No, we don't care.
Oh,
Man,
okay, all right, well, but
it's not that. I mean, it's the Midwest, bud.
right,
We all drive everywhere, even if it's a block away.
right. So 6 tracks, 51 minutes, fourth of 15 records.
Have you ever listened to it?
This record? I
Yeah.
put it on today because since you gave me so much notice.
No, I didn't give you much notice at all. But an incredible album.
Dude. So I have upstairs with my CDs, I have a copy and I think I paid for it. More than $12.99.
You didn't steal it?
Meaning like it might have been an import.
Okay.
Of Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, and I haven't put it on in years. But
So you had heard it before, though? Maybe.
no, not this one.
Oh.
I'm talking about Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, which is kind of the signature 70s Genesis prog rock. Also a little bit elusive. But anyway, the few times that I've put it on, it's like, God, I appreciate this, but we're not gelling. You know what I'm saying? So when I put this on, I was like, this is a couple years before that. Probably going to be similar, way more accessible. And
Was Peter Gabriel still in the band?
so I didn't know that Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins were ever on records together.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was the Peter Gabriel era and the Phil Collins era, they bookended, but no, they put out this, and this was
And Nursery Crimes?
Foxtrot was the last one.
Well,
No, I'm
Nursery
sorry.
Crimes, I think they're both on it. I think.
No, Lamb Lies Down on Broadway was the last one. My bad. But anyway, I put this on and was kind of just gonna. It's only 6 tracks. I was kind of just gonna scan.
Yeah, Supper's Ready is like 20.
But I
minutes
let
long.
it play, and I got like a good chunk into the 3rd or 4th track, and I was like, "This is beautiful," and not, a challenge to follow. I mean, it's just really good music. I mean, and definitely it doesn't have that like, kind of like Yes is like the poster child for
Fusion-y kind of
and
stuff like that. Yeah.
Stuff that, and like I said, Lamb Lies Down on Broadway is not near as accessible as this. This is, I'm not all the way through it, but so far it's beautiful, and I was like, what a treat. I mean, how did this one land in your lap?
Man, once again, I think my brother.
Okay.
I think literally he pulled that thing out, and I was like, oh, all right. And I've had to defend Genesis albums, including this one, to people where I'm like, well, no, all right, your perception of Genesis is
Invisible Touch,
stuff you saw on MTV,
maybe even Abacab,
which and you make fun of those, but you know all the words to all of them, right?
I don't.
Not you. I'm just saying collectively,
Right, yeah.
Everybody makes fun of these Phil Collins and Peter Gabriel pop songs. And you're like, yeah, but there was a time.
And
I'm like, you need to hear what they were doing before. They independently came up with some cheesy '80s careers that worked out really good for them.
People shit all over solo Phil Collins.
This is hilarious. We're gonna have to tell some people about this particular portion of our conversation.
Okay.
Because I've had it multiple times. Because then I'm like, all right, because they're like, Phil Collins sucks, or he's gay, he's gay,
whatever,
or whatever people would say.
I don't need you to like him.
And I'm like, have you ever heard of Brand X before? And they're like, what's Brand X?
I'm asking the same question.
I'm going to put this on for you. Well, we're going to listen to it right when we get out of here.
Okay.
Phil Collins rocks the drums on all that. It's like it's a fusion project.
Okay.
With no words on it either. Like unorthodox behavior, livestock. I don't know if he's on livestock. I know he's on unorthodox behavior. but it's good. His drumming is incredible.
I mean, like, when I first was introduced to the concept of polyrhythms and how to practice that kind, I was like, nope, stop. My brain doesn't work that way. You got to find somebody else that you can explain it to, and then they can explain it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you take that, and then the notion of singing while playing an instrument, and then mash them together. Like, if you don't have respect for some of the shit or all of the shit that he did and has done, like, you don't know what you're talking about, because it's not fucking easy.
It is too bad, though, because literally those two guys together for, at least for Foxtrot, you're like, it's too bad they couldn't just keep. I bet they would have made a lot less money, but a lot cooler stuff for people like nerds like you and I.
Well, it sounds like,
so, like, we may have been cheated a little bit, but, you also got this, pop stuff that everybody loves.
Which
so,
including me.
Great.
I like solo Peter Gabriel. I like solo, but it sounds.
You like Land of Confusion.
I do.
Because of the video. Because of weird puppets and stuff.
I mean, that was part of it, yeah. But that was also a very the time that came out, is when I'm like sort of realizing or trying to figure out on my, this is the world we live in. It's like, oh, it's not just do as you're told, and then you got college, marriage, house, kids, job, and all roses and rainbows. And it's like, no, man, there's a lot of other shit happening out there, and you're gonna have to figure it out on your own.
There's nothing like sending a dark message to small children about how depressing things are gonna get. Yeah, I agree. I think it's great.
And there's a lot of Instagram memes that are just hitting
We're not
that
best friends anymore.
Yeah.
Wait till they start dying.
Yeah.
You're like, what?
Yeah.
No,
Exactly.
Life's kind of tricky.
But
my kids aren't gonna watch this, so I think we're good.
It seems that it wasn't just the two of them. It seems like it was Peter Gabriel and the rest of the outfit there was strain. Like, he just didn't seem to be jiving with the direction. Because then
he was certainly the weirdest of all. Did you watch any of the live stuff? I mean, at one point, I think it's on the back of Foxtrot. Like, if you actually have the full
record.
Vinyl,
Mm-hmm.
He shaved an inverse mohawk. I mean, so he just had a stripe shaved down the middle of his head.
Look no further than the video for Sledgehammer.
Yeah.
All weird.
Well, that's even way later than that.
No, I know, obviously. But he still was a weird guy.
Apparently LSD or whatever it is, that potentially maybe, or just he's just demented.
Hey,
who knows, man?
Here on this podcast, we only speak positively of the best drug on the planet. So, I mean, let's not pretend that LSD has negative side effects.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody do anything weird.
Good for everybody.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, man, it's beautiful stuff, and I mean, kind of in that vein, like 70s Genesis. It's like some super highbrow nerd shit, and I think to the pocket of folks that appreciate it, you got to look under a couple corners to, oh, there you guys are, to find somebody to talk to about it or enjoy it with or whatever. But
it's just a lot of crests and troughs, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there are like some Bela Fleck albums that are like that too, where it's like, there's some really good, like, mellow moments that are like real serene, and that you're like, oh, ooh. And then stuff that drives enough that you can drive your car to it without,
Yeah. I've got a bunch of Bela in my phone, and every single time a track of his comes up on shuffle, I skip. Really? I listened to a bunch of, Flight of the Cosmic Hippo and, was it One Flew Over the Cuckoo's? Three Flew Over the Cuckoo's. And
there's like a bunch of ones that like you can fall asleep to.
Yes.
They're super pretty.
Yes.
I mean, I think they're nice songs.
Yes.
They're not ones that you're like, hey, I'm going to have people over and I'm going to put on this
right.
album. Like,
it's just never seems to be the mood that I'm in.
But you definitely get to hear, Victor do shit that's stupid.
Yeah. His record,
Show of Hands.
The Loneliest Monk.
Oh, okay.
Play on words for Thelonious. Was, and he called himself like Spaceman or something. Remember, he had a funny nickname.
That very first one that he did. Remember the Bela Fleck played at Barney Al's Plaza. I saw them a bunch of times, man.
Okay.
including at a Borders bookstore in Dallas. Where, I mean, I was like, how in the world did this get booked?
Right.
And there were people there, but like I was literally, you know, we could just basically be in this room and
Right.
be as close as I was to all three of those guys.
I went to Telluride once,
Like,
and
that's nuts. Why aren't there more people? And why are you guys playing here?
right.
I mean, I wouldn't even play here.
I thought I went without tickets and thought I was going to get into bluegrass, and that was not going to happen. And so I ended up sitting with my dog that we were talking about upstairs, and we were just sitting there, and he was not interested in just us sitting on this wall listening to this guy. He was just over here outside the festival in this little tiny pavilion, kind of like
Who was?
Bela.
Oh.
If you like, you know, here locally, if you like rented a pavilion at a park and had a cookout, it was a very small kind of thing like that, and they were just underneath it. And my dog started, like, just, what are we doing? Let's go. And he stopped, and he was like, "Are you not digging this, buddy?" And like, for 25 seconds or so, it was like talking to my dog, and then went right back. And I was like, I think our weekend is complete. We just chatted with Bela. I mean,
And Bela was nice too. Like, I mean, because I talked to Vic a couple of times. At Barney House Plaza, I brought, I think just because it was in like a CD wallet or something in my car.
Case
that
Logic.
I pulled it out, and I was like, I didn't have any Bela albums. I had Show of Hands though, because I just bought it not that long before the solo album.
yeah,
And
Zero Man.
So I had Vic autograph it, and then of course Bela was right there, and I was like, "Oh man," and you could tell he was kind of pissed that he had to sign Vic's album.
Oh,
I was like, "I don't have anything else, dude.
Right.
Just sign this, man." What the hell?
I think it's Zero Man or Future
I do
Man.
think Future Man is
Future Man. Anyway,
is the name of his brother.
So Foxtrot Genesis 72. I'm excited to finish it, and then, you know, hopefully, I think it'll probably be somewhere in the rotation because it's good stuff. Like I said, way more accessible than Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, which I think we're gonna make. This is a statement album, and anyway, 2 years later, Thrust, Herbie Hancock.
Do you have that one?
I have just I had Dedication sitting there.
Thrust was pimp, and I bought that on record because, you know, like you. At some point, you buy records because you couldn't get them in any other format.
Right.
When I bought Thrust, I paid more for it because it was not. They didn't reproduce it yet.
Oh,
So
okay.
they've since reproduced the living shit out of it. But man, it's pretty sick.
I gave it a quick over. I was like, I mean,
You never heard it before?
no,
Either?
no.
Oh, man.
I mean, my Headhunters is, you know, like debut with Watermelon Man and Chameleon, and then I have a couple others, but I never like collected the whole thing. But this is the second Headhunters album, and they've put out 8, and the 8th one came out this month of this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's called Speakers in the House, which is funny.
I can only imagine what
like,
that sounds
he's
like.
fucking 82.
I was gonna say I know he's in his 80s.
But-
My chick just died like 2 years ago.
Okay. But I love that, you know, you can a little double entendre for political or your home stereo system. I mean, so this is Bernie Maupin on horns, Paul Jackson on bass, Mike Clark on drums, Bill Simmons percussion. He's just one of the most to me, appreciated musicians of all time. I mean, he's done so much, and, you know, I guess outside of music nerd circles, not too much credit.
Yeah, Man-Child is also like another super. Because is that the one that has "Hang Up Your Hang-Ups" on it?
Maybe.
Which might be one of the funkiest songs.
You gotta look it up.
We can talk about that later too.
Man-Child,
yeah.
are you 2 words or are you one? You are hyphenated. 1975, so a year after this one.
Yeah.
Hang Up Your Hang-Ups leads it off.
Yeah.
Sun Torch the Traitor, Bubbles, Steppin' in It,
Both
Heartbeat.
both those albums are real
6
solid.
cuts, 45 minutes. I mean,
Just enough to get it printed and sell it.
the place I always go with
I would
Herbie
guess, yeah.
is my, way, way, way before we had the mind blown emoji, was discovering Headhunters and Chameleon and so forth in college, and being like, wait, this is the same guy that put out the Rocket video.
Yeah.
And that was really like right when MTV kind of exploded in 83 or whatever it was. That video got a shitload of play, and a lot of the imagery from that video is still burned in there, and I was like, there's no fuck, this is the same guy, holy shit. And then, of course, you push the door open a little further, and you're like, "Oh, he's got like an archive. He's on Blue Note. He was part of the second Miles Davis quintet. Put out a shit ton of a handful of records there, and then, of course, on his own. But I mean,
Yeah, did he play with Blakey too at one point?
I think so.
I almost feel like he was one of the jazz messengers at one point.
He might have been.
Anyway, nonetheless, he's awesome.
What
You don't have to get my endorsement on that. I mean,
do you?
listen to it
How
for
many?
yourself.
How many of his are you familiar with? Would you say 3, 4, 10?
I've probably heard all of it at one time or another.
Man.
I know that I had a best of, which
Sure.
we
Yeah.
could do that.
Right.
Well, I think I found that one like at Exile Records or something, for
Ooh.
like $3 or $4 or something.
Yeah.
In the bin. I was like,
That
I'll
was
take it.
75th and Metcalf, a couple
Yeah.
doors down from Peach's
Yeah.
Sound Warehouse Music.
when that was a thing. God, yeah, how old are you?
Pretty old.
Yeah,
Pretty old. As
But
old
I'm-
as your sister.
I was like, but I remember Peach
Yeah.
though too.
I
But yeah,
the sign, just the image of the sign, and it never occurred to me until it was almost not Peaches anymore what it was. I always would see it and be like, that's fascinating and kind of mysterious, and then being like, oh, that's a record. I want to go in there, and then it wasn't called that anymore, which is whatever. But
I remember going in there, and I don't know if my brother made my parents take us in there, or if my parents took us in there. My dad, but I definitely remember going there. As a little kid.
So, wife and kids, do they have their own relationship with music, or
Yeah, I jam that stuff down their throat all the time.
you're
Well,
spoon
not
feed?
jam it down their throat. I mean, we listen to like stuff from the old Muppet Show,
Nice.
especially when they have like the special guests.
Yeah.
And like how Sesame Street does it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shake Your Tail Feather, the video from like the Blues Brothers film, like where we dance around with it and stuff. And but no, literally, like from Nursery Crimes, two of my kids can sing Harold the Barrel,
Okay.
which is stupid. I have no idea. They just absorbed it. They like Pink Floyd. They like Bike. I've got a bike. It's a very nice. The
Can
song.
write it if you want to.
I'd give it to you if I could, but I borrowed it.
Yeah.
They can sing that whole song. They love it.
I have a.
We actually covered it the other day
Nice.
because of it. I was like,
I have
"Hey,
a
do my
somewhat
kids go nuts over
of a strong dislike for that song because
it?" 'Cause it's stupid.
no, I mean it's cute.
You didn't get a bike.
So there's been kind of a transformative pocket across the fish, whatever, where they'll do a cappella numbers.
Yeah.
And it used to have a pretty, and it usually, or I'm sorry, no, where Fishman will do a tune and then a vacuum solo, and that used to include a handful of songs, and some have been wild and fun and highly requested or sought after. And at some point, he reached a spot where he was like, the only song I can remember the words to is Bike, so that's the only one he does now. So if he comes out and you're going to get a vacuum solo, it's most likely going to be Bike. And I've seen a bunch of
Sucks
those.
getting old.
Well, I know. And like I'm complaining, I can't even see him, I'm squinting, like, what's he saying?
That's funny because we didn't even talk about fish, but we don't need to.
No, we don't. But so
I'll be here for a while because you'll talk about it.
I mean, yeah. So Drew, is she like a music person in the car or podcast or what is she?
Kind of. I think she likes a lot of new country stuff.
Okay.
And
Okay.
That unfortunately I think is damaging my children's taste in music.
Well,
but nonetheless.
I mean, at least they're getting it from both, right? They can.
Well, can't you just listen to like Willie or like old Jerry Jeff Walker stuff or like there's got to be something better than
the new country stuff is out there in numbers and getting fed.
That's crazy.
It's a huge big thing. So I mean,
I actually asked somebody if we could do a kind of a pen named. Let's make a generic country song. Like a new one.
Okay.
And we'll just have to make up names so that nobody knows it's us, and let's see how it tracks.
I think that'd be a fascinating experiment, and I would love for you to see that through.
You're like, that's how hard this was.
Did you hear that Mark's playing Arrowhead next week? Just they have this.
Yeah,
one
all
song.
of a sudden, yeah. Then I'll be like, dude, we just write like dozens of these.
Right? Yeah. Just
how long did it take us to pull this one?
Yeah.
I should time it all too. We should document the entire thing. Like,
yeah.
all right,
make a time lapse video,
start to finish.
Yeah.
Let's do this, and then go from pen to paper to recording and see how long it takes and how many hits we get. I bet more than anything we've ever probably done.
So how long do you think you'll continue to gig?
Oh, I don't know.
Like another 10 years? Have you ever felt like
kind of forever? Huh?
Yeah, right.
Well, why? I mean,
as
long as I play anything that's worth it, I guess.
Right? But I mean, have you ever had that like weird questioning, like, do I really still love doing this, or is it just undeniable?
No.
Okay, cool.
Never.
So
no, normally I'm willing to be a whore.
I love it.
I'd rather do stuff I don't want to do.
So tell me,
than not do anything.
Tell me again.
That's pretty bad, right?
The names of the outfits. I know Jervis Jort, and they have a Facebook page, right? And
the Harry Trumans.
The Harry Trumans, and
Which was just going to be the Trumans, and I was like, I think we can improve that name.
I like it.
So Harry Hairy.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Harry Truman.
Nice. And so they have a what? Do they have a website? Do they have a Facebook page?
No, there's just a Facebook page. For that too.
And then is it Ismert and Company?
And I don't think there's a
nothing
site for that.
Nothing at all.
I just started playing with them like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. I've played with various pieces of them before. More to come on that.
And big question mark on the future of Backfat.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, once again, I think if those guys wanted to play, that would be good.
So
I got a lot of requests for us to play stuff.
So, I mean,
and then it was just kind of like it was like, I don't know, I don't really want to.
Oh, they're not feeling it, or
well, back then, but then we ended up doing one. I
mean, they're not. Are they doing other things that you're not a part of, or
no?
They just aren't gigging.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you guys should gig. Like, it's a very fun time to see you guys.
I would love for you to, when you rebroadcast this, let's put their phone numbers at the bottom of the video.
Okay.
Or phone numbers.
Yeah.
We can just list them at the end.
Yeah. Please free
call.
T-shirt for everybody that texts these guys on this group thread.
Must text, though, 10 times at 10 o'clock at night until they give in.
So... What would I have a very rough, foggy, imaginary vision of like what your day-to-day life looks like. But if you no longer had to work, walk me through, what would your average day look like? You guys got more money than you can spend. You don't have to have a job anymore. Maybe she doesn't either. If she definitely doesn't either.
The same stuff probably a lot of people do.
But
I'd be still probably playing music and fishing and.
Okay. You
traveling?
You get out there and cast the line.
Not a lot. Haven't as much as I'd like to.
How much travel?
Kids are now older.
You could make it happen.
That it's a little easier to pull it off.
Right.
Yeah, because before it was like, see ya, And you can't really pull that off.
No.
Very easy. Most people know that.
I see or hear of, your scenario where dad / husband plays a lot of golf, and I'm always just like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I wish I would have gotten in on that earlier.
Do you?
Well, yes and no.
I mean, golf is
but
fun.
apparently it is like the excuse that it's totally okay.
But it's. I mean, every time.
And I don't mind playing golf. Actually, I
Sure,
kind of enjoy it.
but I mean, it's like a 5-6 hour commitment every time if you're going to play.
Yeah, fishing only has to be like an hour or two, especially if you live near somewhere
Some
where
water.
you can do it.
Yeah,
right. Doesn't have to be all day.
right.
I mean, Chiefs games, I guess, are bad enough as it is.
Do you go to?
Oh yeah.
Do you have tickets?
Yeah.
Season
Uh-huh.
that have been in the family for a while, or did you do it?
No.
Okay.
We've had them for a while.
So, are you like every home game?
No, not everyone.
Okay.
I didn't go Sunday.
Jags.
I go to a lot. I'm fortunate. I mean, this year, because they keep pushing us later in the. Not like I don't know if anybody even cares to hear this on this podcast, but
Yeah,
you can always
we
edit.
talk Chiefs plenty.
You can always edit.
Yeah.
That almost all the games have not been noon.
This Jags one was like for a week leading up. I was like, I gotta adjust.
And those are like the biggest whip though, like with the wife and 3 kids, right? Because
The biggest what?
biggest whip, because like I'll wake up, I'm prepping food or whatever.
Oh, to get there?
Yeah, and
Oh.
I'm leaving at like 8:30. And she'd rather be asleep still. And then, but luckily for her, those noon games, I get home around 6 or 7.
So she doesn't go.
I mean, right? Like it's a full day. It's worse than work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, oh man, you're stuck with them all day.
Where are
It
they?
sucks.
The seats.
We got some in the lower, kind of goal line-ish
Okay.
era.
And who do you wind up for the ones you go to?
Are you asking for to go?
No, that's not. I don't. I think that ship sailed for me. Like,
Oh, you don't want to go anymore?
I mean, if I took the kids to their first and only game. It was a few years ago. It was like this time of year.
A regular season game?
Yeah. What? What's the?
Well, just cause. I mean, we took our kids to a preseason one. I thought even it was more precarious than what I would normally want.
So
to
this
accept.
was.
I mean, for people to care and be kind of as unruly as they were, it was kind of amazing. Like Green Bay fans, like
we got
"What
luck.
about you,
So
Bay-Back?" And I was like, dude, first of all, it's a preseason game.
Yeah.
Who cares? Like, are you mad at your team or are you like celebrating? And why are you doing either? It's a preseason
you
game.
couldn't pay
And you're
me.
also an opposing stadium.
You couldn't pay me to take your free preseason tickets and go because nope, I'm out. Like,
That's the only way I'd take my
too hot,
kids though.
meaningless. Anyway, I bought 3 tickets, kind of 10 rows from the end zone, nice seats and it was this time of year. It was a real nice day, like for November, and it was against the Cardinals. And this, 3 years ago, so we lit them up pretty good, and we ended up having like a really great pocket of people, or like
Good.
some people like gave my kids toys and coloring books, and it was fun. It was really nice.
That's
and
good.
I'm like, that's hopefully that memory lasts for a while because we're gonna be doing that again anytime soon.
Yeah, the coloring book is way better than being thrown up on,
I mean,
which I also hear happens.
yeah, of course. I mean, see footage, but
This is your first.
do you?
Welcome to Irwin.
When you're there, are you typically with the same group of people, or is it mixed?
No, it changes.
Okay.
There's a guy that comes down from Illinois
Oh,
every game.
damn.
I don't know how he does it, but he's right next to us. Yeah.
Okay.
And literally, his wife. Once again, I don't get this. They have, I think, 2. Well, now they have 3 kids, but he brought her down, and I think she was like ready to blow at any moment, and she went to a game. It's
I
like, so
mean-
you made an 8-hour drive with an almost 9-month pregnant lady. She's now at the game. This is all pretty precarious. Look, nobody's questioning
And that's why
nobody's questioning your fandom.
And that's
like,
why
that's
you were
amazing.
born in Moline. That's why you were born on the shoulder and outside of Des Moines, honey.
I mean, I think that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, your wife is like, because he would show up to games, and I'm like, how pregnant is she now? And he's like, oh, I mean, could be any moment. And I was like, why are you here? And then they brought that very small child to a game too, like pretty like 6 months or something like that. Like, would you bring a 6-month-old kid to
Not without noise reduction headphones, which my kids wore.
even still, some drunk could just knock you over, and like that would be totally unheard of at a Chiefs game.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
Anyway,
I think, if
that's just protection zone. I think when it comes to, because I've just seen too many stupid things.
So
like that.
here's the thing. If I make the commitment and I take them and we get to the spot we're supposed to be, and if anything's shaped, like, we're out, like, we'll just leave. We'll listen to it on the way home and we'll catch the second half on the couch.
Yeah, that's probably better.
But if it's not, if it's really amazing and it's nice weather and nobody's freezing and all the people around you are cool and like very moderately and responsibly consuming their adult beverages, it's fantastic. Because then they're like loose enough to talk about parenting and how great it is you have your kids there, and you're not worried about getting puked on or knocked over. The kids are like, that was really all these strangers. We just,
once again, the guy next to us, he brings his 9-year-old son who stands on the seat, and he's like my first high five. Usually, I put myself next to those guys.
Cool.
Because who knows what?
Who else are you with?
Who knows what riffraff I've
Typically.
decided to bring
Right.
to
Okay.
a
Okay.
game.
Okay.
It could be anybody.
Now, are these? So I forget what you said. Did you do this of your own accord, or is this like a family thing?
No, family.
Okay.
Cool. My
Cool.
parents have been buying those for the years. So.
Yeah, man. It's a really, really, like, I used to.
We suffered through all those crap years too, right? We were contiguous.
Yeah.
Too, so I think it's been like 30 some odd years, 35, 36, 7, something like that.
Wow.
So no, I was not buying them when I was, in elementary school.
So what do you think your days look like? And I know this is way down the road and somewhat of a silly question, but what do you think your days look like when you guys are eventually empty nesters? How are you
I
travel?
think same thing what we were talking about.
Okay,
probably.
fishing.
Doing
gigging.
kind of whatever you can. I guess. I mean, I'm gigging. I don't know. How relevant would that be? No, that's when I start doing.
You said forever.
Well, that's probably when my utility will be more like, writing pads for Law and Order. Well, like ambient music and stuff. Or it's like, I'll sell you like some random strumming of stuff. I'm writing people's jingles.
I mean, there's plenty of older folks that still get out there and do it. I mean,
no, I know that. I mean,
and they seem to.
I know. I'd love to
have a ball.
I'd love to still do that, sure, but just have to sort of see what that what that sort of looks like.
But
things kind of tend to unfold, and
you
sort of hate to conjure up some dream plan and it doesn't come to fruition.
I mean, dream plan and versus the occasional daydream that you didn't anticipate are two different things.
Yeah, but how do you get to that point anyway? Where that's a fixed asset? I don't see it.
Well, you mentioned travel. I mean, is that a thing that you both love to do and will do, or?
I figured that's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
No, generally I hate traveling. I mean, I hate going to the airport. I hate dealing
so
with people
stressful.
at the airport. I think, it's a pain. Boarding dogs and.
Do you fly with dogs?
No.
Oh.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like,
boarding
you
them.
gotta
Board them,
board
right.
the dog, find somebody to deal with that.
Yeah, I usually find somebody to come stay at the house if I can.
Yeah, well, that's
not easy all
in
the
a
time.
perfect world if
Right.
you can pull that off.
Right.
So, I don't know. I mean, the last time we flew, we had we went to New Mexico. We had 2 flights each way. One went through Denver. The other one went through Phoenix.
Okay.
Because there weren't any direct flights to New Mexico.
Not even Albuquerque?
No. Well, they're bringing them back next year. So
Okay.
That'll be good. Especially with kids and stuff. We're like, stay on the plane.
Yeah.
Right? How many times are we going to do this?
Yeah.
one flight each way, right? So of these two connectors, people ran up the aisle when the plane, got to the jetway and was parked or whatever you call it. Darted from the back up to the front. Who the fuck does that?
I took my kids.
These were adults. Too.
I know.
These were adult people, and I was like, now you guys are sitting around in the aisle. Nobody can get any of their stuff out.
I took the kids to Colorado in June, and we rented a car and went to a whole bunch of different towns and saw a bunch of people. But for sure, coming home, if you want to stand and do this thing and wait for your turn to get out, okay, I don't have a problem with that. What I do have a problem is you ignoring the row by row flow of how it's supposed to go. So like if you just happen to have your nothing, you just have your purse or your backpack and you just cut. So I was kind of coaching my kids to, okay, all right, get ready, and then we're going to stand, and then we'll get stuff. I always look around if there's
if you need to help somebody
needs
speed
help
the whole thing around.
to
I
get,
it. Yeah.
So as we're going, I got like a shoulder brush because somebody came blasting past, and then a second person with them came too, and I go, hey, that's not how this works, and they were like, surprised that anybody would say anything, and kept going, and it didn't matter. But I felt good at least getting those words out to be like, you're a piece of shit.
I literally tried to trip one of these people. And my wife was sitting across the aisle. And she's like, stop it. What are you doing? And he looked at my foot like, what is this? And I was like, yeah, because you're not supposed to be going. I don't understand. And I started talking to the guy behind us, and they were already kind of looking. So like, this was almost turned into a mob.
I love it. I love it.
And I was like, I don't know, man. It just seems kind of silly. What kind of time are you saving by doing
You're
this?
not.
And he was like, yeah, right. And so we're just having a conversation, across this guy so that he has to listen to us kind of berate him. I just wish I would have been able to trip him. But whatever. He did stop. He didn't get any farther.
Oh.
At least.
Okay. All right. Yeah, man. Fuck people. Just... so the hardest part for me is I don't want to be like insanely early, but I don't want to feel anxious about, are we going to get through and get on in time? So I'm always trying to, but whenever, like for this Denver trip, when we got through at KCI, we had 50 plus minutes before boarding started. And I was like,
which means you had nothing to do because there's nothing in that airport.
Well, I don't care about that, but I care about not feeling it because I've traveled with them,
sweating when you get on the plane,
and they feel, they have felt the anxiety, and there have been tears, so it's just like, yeah, we're just gonna sit. You guys just read, or here you want to try and get on this shitty Wi-Fi, go ahead. But so that is a lot, and it's of course at least twice, and if you have it connecting, then of course it's 4. So getting through all that is a lot for me and then if you have to deal with shitty people on top of that,
which you will. That's the sad thing, is it's a microcosm. I mean, it literally is a microcosm. It's everybody's there, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You got the full gamut.
Yep.
You've got people that are business folks, and folks that are very well-to-do,
mm-hmm.
people that aren't, and people that are jerks that are of both varieties, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, dude, that transcends
Yeah,
everybody.
and sometimes if you can identify exactly that, you're this and you're that, I'm like, why did you think it was a good idea to leave the house and put your face out in public, let alone get on a plane with...
And then I think people, including my wife, that think that they're mortified, right, because of the small kids that are screaming or yelling or throwing fits.
Meaning your own?
Yeah.
Okay.
You accept that. Those are kids.
Yeah.
How do you explain the rest of these assholes?
You don't.
That's what I'm saying. What's your excuse?
I
know what their excuse is.
You look at their parents and be like, we've made a PowerPoint of all the ways in which you did a shitty job rearing this human that you probably shouldn't even produce in the first place. follow along on
And we're talking about the 50-year-old guy that's a total dick at the airport?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Because you're like, yeah, so they didn't yell at you, clearly.
or
Or they yelled at you
too much. Yeah, exactly.
Fair enough.
We're rolling up on 9:30, and we should get you out of here.
Right on.
But thank you so much for coming.
It was fun.
I'm glad that we were able to make it happen. For a while there, I was like, I don't know about this McCaffrey character. He's taken a long time in between, and then finally you're like,
well, it's just, like I said, I mean, when I have a lot of free time, I try to set up a rehearsal, and if I don't have one, I'll try to set up a project or something. Be like, hey, do you guys
like
want to
what?
get together?
Music project?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You're not building sheds and shit out there.
No.
No,
No,
okay.
not that kind of thing.
All right.
I mean, I would.
Well,
I wouldn't be very good at that, I don't feel like.
love to make it happen with your brother, if for no other reason, just to say, look, they're totally two different conversations, even though there's little wrinkles of overlap. So you'll have to hook me up with this number is the point of all that, so I can not miss
Yeah,
it.
here, we should just put it on tape right now. No, I'm kidding.
Anyway, thanks, man.
I'm sure he'll probably watch this.
Well,
I'll just give you his address instead.
just egg him every third Saturday.
He prefers TP.
TP.
Yeah, he's more of a TP.
Maybe
guy.
some eggy TP.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, sure.
Anyway, thanks, man.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.